Welcome, everyone. Thanks so much for joining us today. It has been a profound honor to be Lauren Groff's editor over the last several books, and I'm so excited for you all to hear her talk today about the incredible research and passion that went into the writing of this new novel. Everyone here knows that Lauren is a genius, and everything that she has written up until this moment is stunning, but I am here to tell you that Matrix is the best thing she has ever created. I know that for someone like Lauren, a two-time National Book Award finalist, someone whose last novel sold over 500,000 copies, that is saying a lot, but I mean it. Lauren, welcome.
Hi, Sarah. It's so lovely to see you. And I wish I could see everyone who's watching this, but I can't.
So we have a lot to cover in a short time. I know you're going to tell us about studying ancient French and labyrinths and bizarre manuscript marginalia and nunneries and so much more. But before we get to all that, let's just start with the basics. What is Matrix about?
So Matrix began in sort of the cesspit that was the Trump years. And I was just hungry to live in a world in which men were not constantly yelling in my direction. And so I went back to some of my early loves, Marie de France, who's this incredible first published French poet. And I created this character because we don't know much about Marie, who gets thrown out of the courts of England and sent to a nunnery. And at first it's a very mingy, very sad little place, but through her own ability and over the course of many decades, she pulls the nunnery, makes it almost into this beautiful protective space for the women that she loves so dearly.
That's great. So good. Many of you who are watching today will have seen our Riverhead Variety Show a few months ago, and so you may remember the English miners. I would like to welcome them back to the stage now to do their version of the plot of Matrix.
Da 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 da. Da 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 da. I was just a gangly girl trying to live my life, raised by my mama and my aunties who taught me right. Queen Eleanor didn't love me back but banished me to live far away in a cold dark abbey. There were only nuns after all. Yeah. Well, all nuns have a hunger that's insatiable. I have to get this abbey off the ground. My women need more food to eat and blankets. We plant a garden, buy some cows, and thank God, so the abbey starts to grow. I went to the abbey, I knelt by the fires, I looked to the sisters, they released my desires. There's more than one way to be a nun, it seems, pointing me in a crooked line. And the more I wish for Queen Eleanor, closer I am to nuns, yeah. Closer I am to nuns, yeah. As we grow powerful, the nation once are rigid. I must protect my abbey with more than bridges. A vision comes to me, the labyrinth so complex. I ask the nuns to build it. The nation is astonished. Even the queen rides out to see it, but still she doesn't love me. I followed my vision, built a maze of protection. Why go to a priest? I will hear your confession. There's more than one way to find God. God's pointing me in a crooked line. And the less I listen to men, closer I am to nuns, yeah. Closer I am to nuns, yeah. Closer I am to nuns, yeah. Closer I am to nuns.
Oh my God, that was amazing. Are you kidding me? Indigo Girl. What? I feel like I'm back in college.
So good.
But also in the 12th century.
So Lauren, as your editor, I've seen up close how you have been consumed by several threads or obsessions, maybe even through your work. And one topic I've seen you obsess about is utopia, right? The human longing for utopia, the shared vision for a better world, and also sort of all the things that can go wrong when humans try to create them. Utopia, or especially a female utopia, is like really at the center of Matrix, right?
Oh yeah, no, this book again is a book where I really just wanted to spend time with women and among these powerful, weird women who are somewhat cast out of society, as a lot of women back at the time, back in the age of Eleanor of Aquitaine and Emerita, the troublesome sisters, the problematic daughters were pushed out into these places, almost thrown away, and yet they have these gorgeous lives, these radiant lives of God and work and prayer, and a lot of them were able to study and to read in ways that they were not able to do in the past. And so I wanted to find the power of in a time and place where it didn't seem as though women had power, and I wanted to sort of think about community, because community is the thing that I come back to over and over again, as you said. And I'm not sure why. I think I'm always somewhat reacting to American politics, which does feel constantly as if it's like just like a unending struggle between light and dark, just kidding, between individualism and community. And we often don't have a healthy balance. And so this book was sort of reflecting back the reality, the political reality of the world in which I was writing it.
That's one of the things that I was so immediately struck by, is that this book is set over 1,000 years ago, but it feels as if it's being written to today. I mean, there's so much that's really about the tensions that we feel now between the individual and the communal, and even like the individual and the environment and the planet. But I don't want to give away anymore. Lauren, I'm going to just let you take it from here.
Thank you. Hi, Katie. Thank you so much for coming on today. I have so many great questions to ask you. But first, I want to say that, as Emily Dickinson once said, if I feel physically as if the top of my head were taken off, I know that's poetry. And your lecture at Radcliffe, when we met, Liturgy Matters, Benedictine Women's Communities in Medieval England, made me feel exactly this way. I had always had this view of the medieval ages as being deeply and structurally misogynist, which it was. But through your research into liturgical manuscripts, you make a compelling argument that there was some subversion happening among nuns at the time. So what are a few traces of resistance that you found when you were studying your manuscripts?
My favorite evidence that I have found really is actually nuns taking the prayers that were traditionally recited by priests, even at times like the consecration of the Eucharist, and repurposing them for their own prayers. And not just prayers that they probably would have recited, privately in their own devotions, but even publicly to one another. And so I have found evidence of this that stretches from the 9th century, but also all the way through the 12th century, which is the very time when your novel is set, which is really, really exciting.
Thrilling. It was so exciting for me to think about these women in their communities, just thriving. And I was mostly fascinated by these powerful abbesses. So in what ways were abbesses in particular unusual for women in the era? We'll start there.
These were the mothers of their communities. These women, many of them, were coming from royalty, high-ranking nobility, and thus were really well educated. But I think even more importantly, these women were unafraid to exercise their power and authority when it came to dealing with ecclesiastical officials, but also members of the royal household as well.
So what would a Benedictine nun's day be like in the 12th and 13th century of England, where the book is set?
The lives of nuns were supposed to be balanced between two things, both aura, prayer, and labora, which is work. And that work could take a variety of forms, from women engaging in various kinds of scribal work, so book production, but also embroidery work, tending to the land or animals that were in the monastic complex, cooking, cleaning, caring for the sick, providing alms for the poor, extending hospitality to guests. And so it was a really sort of jam-packed day. This was a very much sort of woman-centered, woman-created form of activity.
Brilliant. So you mentioned in your talk that researchers have found traces of lapis lazuli in the teeth of 11th century nuns, which I found mind-blowing. Why would this be significant?
Lauren, this may surprise you and other people as well, but it's just amazing to me the lengths to which some scholars will go to try to disprove the scribal activity of women religious during the Middle Ages. And it is now literally taken having the dental calculus, the tartar of a nun, to prove that women were indeed serving as scribes and artists within their communities. And not just that, but they were using some of the most precious materials that were known during the Middle Ages to create the various illuminations that they were producing. And what that indicates to me is that these women were highly skilled, highly trained, and also that they were gifted enough, again, to be entrusted with these materials.
Katie, when you speak, the love of these nuns of the past, but also the present, just comes through, and it's sort of, I feel just radiance with it as well. Why, can you just tell us why you love these nuns so much?
Yeah, I really appreciate this question so much, Lauren, because who I am, not just as a scholar, but I feel like as a person in the world, has been profoundly shaped by the many women religious I've had the great privilege of learning from and loving. They are the ones who inspired me to recover the histories of religious women in the Middle Ages. And also not just to look at the male-authored prescriptive sources that have been written about these women, which has been done so much in past scholarship on these women, but instead to recover these women's histories on the basis of their own books, their own words, because this reveals a very different history about what these women did. And this history is so important, both just in terms of our understanding of the past, but I do think it really transforms our understanding of what women religious are doing today as well.
Katie, I wish I could speak to you all day, because you're making me so impassioned again, which is one of your unique gifts. You have so many, but thank you beyond thanks for this. I love talking to you. I love seeing your face. Thank you.
Oh, and Lauren, I want to take the opportunity to thank you as well. You writing this novel, it is bringing much needed attention to the histories of women religious. And so whatever I do is just very small compared to what you are doing and lifting up these stories and making people interested. I ended up seeing a blog post the other day that it was heralding your new novel and saying that, now we're going to have the year of the nun this year. And I really hope this indeed is the year of the nun and many years following that, because that would be a really extraordinary thing.
Let's make it the century of the nun.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
Thank you so much. I really appreciate it.
Thank you, Lauren.
Hello, Dr. Shoaf. Thank you so much for coming on. I have a few questions for you today. Could you please explain to a general audience the importance of the historical and literary figure of Marie de France?
Well, Marie is her poetry, and especially the Les. These are 12 verse narratives ranging from a few hundred lines. There's one that's 1,000 lines long, relatively short. As a poet, she's what we would call nowadays a literary foremother. But before we had that term, before there was women's studies, she was still really important in the canon of French literature. The men who decided who was an important French author had to say that she was, because her Les are so brilliant.
Magnificent. She's one of my great passions, as she is one of yours as well, I know. We don't know much about her, though, about the actual figure. Could you give me maybe some of the more pervasive hypotheses about who she was?
Well, as you say, we don't know much. There's a fellow named Denis Pyramus who said mean things about her, and that's how we know for sure that she was involved with Henry II. He was a rival poet, and he was sad because his poetry wasn't as popular. Now, one candidate who was proposed back in 1910 is an illegitimate
As
half-sister of King Henry.
you know.
As you know, I think there's one line of one record in some document that mentions this Marie. And then you have to make up everything else about her, which I gather is exactly what you have done. And I'm so looking forward to reading this book. I'm really
you're the
excited about it.
loveliest. I'm so looking forward to this next part. Could you possibly give us a taste of what her lait sounded like? The ancien français.
The ancien français, the old French. So it has the prologue running down the first column and most of the second column. And then you can see towards the bottom of the second column, there's one line that sticks out into the margin. And that's the beginning of her second prologue. The first prologue is all about, I'm going to tell you these wonderful new stories. God wants people to use their gifts. And boy, do I have a gift for putting things into rhyme. And you're going to love this, oh great king. She doesn't name the king. And also she says that these are very moral works, just like Latin works. The second prologue is a little bit different. It says, well, I did that, but haters gonna hate.
Yeah.
So
you don't like my peaches? Don't shake my tree. Yeah.
Qui de bonne matière traite, multipèse si bien n'est faite. Voyez, Seigneur, ce que dit Marie, qui en sentence pas ne s'oublie. Celui doivent la gente loer, qui en bien fait de soi par l'air. Mais quand il y a en un pays, homme ou femme de grand brise. And that's as far as it goes on the page.
It's lovely. Very good. I love hearing it. Thank you. It's funny because it's almost Chaucerian in a way, right? You can identify the words, and there's a rhythm in the language. It's beautiful.
Now, you've studied Old French, right?
I did for 2 semesters 20 years ago. So, it has been a long time. Thank you so much for coming on and sharing your brilliant knowledge and insight in Marie de France and Ancien Français with us today. Thank you.
Oh, well, thank you for asking me. And I am really looking forward to reading Matrix.
I hope you like it.
I'm excited for it. I will.